We're heading into Memorial Day weekend, and we have you covered here on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I'm Clay Link of RotoWire.com here with FSWA Hall of Famer Todd Zola. Always a pleasure talking with you, Todd. What's on your mind today before we get into baseball?
Is it really Memorial Day weekend?
I know. How crazy is that?
That's just nuts. It is. Been some really good balls so far. I expect there to be some really good ball. Yesterday, was it opposite day or what? I mean, there were 3 or 4 games that I expected to be blowouts or slugfests, and there were pitchers' duels. It just, and yet Aaron Nola and Lucas Giolito just, have their lunches handed to them. So, I don't know, remind me again why I decided to do this for a living.
It is, like we've said, it's like shooting at a moving target. It's very difficult. Baseball's so wacky. You never know what you're going to see on a given day. So, yeah, it's, especially in small samples, baseball could be so weird.
You've got Jake Junis and Julio Teheran, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then San Francisco. San Francisco then brings in Sean Manaea. And as a buddy of mine told me, that's just disrespectful. And yet it worked, right?
Mm.
Anyway, yeah, so that's but one thing is good, and that is Jorge Soler did what he was supposed to do over the past couple of days, and that's pretty much hit a home run or just have a good day every day in Colorado. My joke's been, you know what the A-team had to do to Mr. T to get him on a plane?
I wasn't a big fan of the A-team, or I didn't see much of it.
Man, is there anybody else that can host this podcast? No, all right.
Basically, I missed that. I was a little.
They had to knock him out. They had to knock him out to get him on the plane. He was afraid to fly. That's what they're going to do to Soler. They have to knock the guy out to get him on the team plane to get him out of Colorado. 3 homers and another great day yesterday. Anyway, all good.
Yeah, he's on pace to blow past 40 for the first time.
Well, but he's done in Colorado. Yeah, he's done in Colorado.
That's true.
Anyway,
he doesn't get to play all of his games there, but
2 lefties this weekend.
Yeah, he's
got
really
Detmers.
Had a nice bounce back.
Yeah, Detmers and Sandoval this weekend, and he crushes lefties. So I know they're pretty good lefties, but all right, we'll see. Anyway.
Well, it was a pretty light week this week in the RotoWire Stake League, especially compared to last week. I had 30 bids in last week. I think I only had 2 this week, so pared down quite a bit. Owen Miller and who was the other one? Kendall Graveman were my only guys. I missed out on both, but that's all right. But yeah, it's a little bit of a light week. We are at Memorial Day, but I was thinking we are only about 30% of the way through the season, Todd. So still a long way to go. If you're, hanging 8th, 9th, 10th spot, don't get too down on your team.
No, and I haven't done this study for a while. I'm sure it still holds true. Right around now is when your standings stabilize, in that the top to bottom of each category is representative of how it will be, towards the end, especially the ratios. The ratios always seem, too low and too high at the extremes, but they're starting to stabilize, which the point being, you can now get a better gauge of where your strengths and weaknesses lie to make trades or free agency or just roster maneuvers. It's at least you have a little more of a basis to make. I think it's still early, right? To completely, I need steals, I don't need home, blah, blah. It's still way too early, I think, for that. But the standings are somewhat representative of the spread they will be at the end of the season.
Well, I mentioned that it was a kind of a light FAAB week, and this league is a 16-team league, so some of those interesting players who may be hanging around your league probably not available here. But one of them, Todd, Jake McCarthy, he's now back. The flavor of the week, Dominic Fletcher was sent down, so that did not last too long. And I know you liked McCarthy coming into the season. I do expect him to kind of take back over his starting role, but are you willing to give him another shot on your fantasy team?
Yeah, especially if I had him on a draft champions where, I just had to sit him and not drop him. A lot of the misfortune was hit it with it was misfortune. I already gave the answer. A lot of the troubles early on were misfortune. He's not a hard hit guy, right? He's not an exit velocity guy. He just wasn't getting on. But I don't know if it was Driveline, but he went to some laboratory when he first was sent down to have his swing analyzed. And I think that's a positive sign. He was hitting pretty well before he got called up. And I said he has a chance to lead the league in steals. All right. I mean, it was just one of those things you say. But the point being, he can contribute in the stolen base category now if the balls start falling in. And you said Fletcher's drop down, so the spot is there. Thomas is still in the minors. The spot is there. Yes, I'm going to be looking to activate McCarthy on my draft champions teams where he's been, dormant until this point.
Yeah, and if you pick him up, of course, you don't have to bank all those bad stats to date. I mean, that's obvious, but
right.
Just I think the baseline is much higher than we saw earlier this year. So
yep,
I'd be willing to give him a shot. Owen Miller, he goes for 9. McCarthy went for 11, by the way. Owen Miller goes for 9 out of 100. I had just a $0 bid on him, but I was interested in adding him. Really on a hot run, but just not a guy that I expect to sustain anywhere close to this.
I should know this, but when I say why is he playing, I mean who's hurt? I mean, is there some?
Well, I think it started more so like on the short side of a platoon.
All right, that's what. Yeah,
here.
Right, because Terang. Yeah.
Well, third base, Luis Urias. It's Luis Urias.
Oh, is that what? Okay. All right.
He's
so
playing a lot of third.
All right. All right. So yeah, and he's been playing regularly. I don't know if Milwaukee's had a bunch of lefties, but no, the playing time will keep up so long as he's hitting. But yeah, I see that going away pretty quickly. But I still believe that. I mean, if you jump on the bandwagon now, you're just as likely to get the downfall as a continuation. But that's the way you need to play now is you need to ride these streaks. If for no other reason, then he's getting playing time, Owen Miller.
Yeah, and I do want to say that Luis Urias did begin a rehab assignment Wednesday. So,
yeah, okay.
He's coming back. I mean, he may need a kind of a lengthy rehab given how long he's been out, but that, Luis Urias's return could kind of close the door on Miller, at least at third base.
Yeah, and what I love, and we talked a little bit about this, but when we, per request of some guy named Peter Schenke, who kind of owns the place, we now have like the last 9 or 10 days of lineups. So, all right. So the first thing you went in my head was, third base and like, okay, where's Brian Anderson playing? So we can check pretty easily that Anderson still has been in the lineup for the past several days. And we want to check, he's been in the outfield. So it's not as if Brian Anderson has fallen into a platoon with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Now let's see who else was picked up in the stake league. Jose Caballero of Seattle. Then Johan Oviedo. He took the loss, and I had to double check. I did a double take that he actually threw an immaculate inning in this outing.
He got some help. If you saw the 9 pitches, he got some help from the opposing batters.
Yeah, that's true. But that's a super rare accomplishment.
Yeah.
Congrats to Oviedo. Any interest in adding him? Let's see what he's done. He's been pretty good since the 6-run outing.
Yeah, if you can stash him or stream him, which you can in your league, yeah, I do. I think there is some. I think you can squeeze some goodness, in a deeper league out of Oviedo. Like you said, he's had issues. He was all right. Then he had that 3-game stretch where he wasn't so good, and now he's kind of righted the ship again. He's always going to have some control issues. The home runs, last 2 games, he's getting up a homer, but he generally keeps the ball in the yard. So, especially if a lineup is impatient and/or he's at home, I'm definitely interested in Oviedo.
The walks look a little high over his last 3 outings, although
Yeah.
Skewed a little bit by the 5 on May 12th, 5 walks. So yeah, his last 2 outings, he's been quite good. A 12-5 K to walk over 11 2/3 innings. So yeah, he's that could be kind of a sneaky pickup there if you could.
He's got some pedigree, right? He's got some prospect pedigree.
Good call. Kyle Hendricks is back. Todd, he was picked up, the master of limiting hard contact until he wasn't. So Kyle Hendricks struggled yesterday. I just, it's been so long since he has been that kind of magician type. So I'm really not looking at him really anywhere, Kyle Hendricks.
No, I mean, listen, if you need pitching, you need to take a shot. I'm not, everybody has to manage their team.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to say I'd rather have Julio Teheran, but it's I'd have to think about it.
Yeah. I am absolutely with you there. All right, let me get some things squared here. I wanted to say we are brought to you by Rival Fantasy. I don't know if I mentioned that at the very top. We are sponsored by Rival, and we're going to be talking some Rival here shortly. I got my picks queued up for tonight. Other pickups from the Stake League as we wrap that conversation up. Kendall Graveman, I mentioned he was one of the few guys I had bids on. He goes for 5. Maybe not much of a window there, but he has seemed to have taken over the closer job for the time being.
And who's to say that Hendricks gets every opportunity right away?
Yeah, he could need some more off days than normal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Matt Vierling, Seth Brown, Mike Soroka. Do you think there's a chance we see Soroka at some point pretty soon?
Every week when I update my projections and make sure I have 162 starts per team, I check our note on Soroka. And he's not like he's rehabbing. He's in the minor leagues, right?
Yeah, it's kind of an extended rehab, though.
Yeah, but
I get what you're saying.
But he's
not technically on a rehab assignment.
Yeah, I mean he's in. He probably has options left. He's in the minors.
Mm-hmm.
So I look to see how he does. I don't care all that much because he's like Kyle Hendricks, a contact guy. So I do think we see him, but I promise you, someone else is going to be more interested. Because he's a guy that I think outpitched his peripherals early on and was probably due some correction. And it's just going to take a couple of years because he was hurt.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely with you there. He had such a nice run before those like double Achilles injuries, but it was easy to poke holes in those numbers. And so, I think given that you take that he was probably overperforming early on in his career, the injury issues, the long layoff from Major League action. I'm with you. Not much interest in Soroka. Ben Lively, go Reds, but I wasn't interested there. Ryan Weathers, Chase Anderson, Edward Julian, who's back now with Polanco on the IL. Drew Waters, Willie Castro, Mark Canha, Griffin Canning, Garrett Cooper, and Kyle Manzardo picked up as a stash. So not a ton this week after the big Matt McClain week and a bunch of pickups, Vientos, and a bunch of guys last week.
Yeah, Griffin Canning. I know, it's one game and blah, blah, blah. He sure looked good against the Red Sox this week. So
I didn't get eyes on that. He looked impressive, huh?
I like the context. Angel Stadium and good pitching park and the team. So he is someone that I'm going to check out for potentially picking up. I've got a couple teams where I pretty much just have to revamp the pitching. And, if I don't, I'm not going to win. So if I pick guys and they still continue to be terrible, I'm still not going to win. So I have to go a route that's going to try to fix. I mean, there's no fixing Alek Manoah, or teams that have Alek Manoah.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I benched him this week, and it was the right call.
Yeah.
I got to raise my hand. Said I was dead wrong on Manoah this year.
I was too. I
kind of had my blinders on. In retrospect, I see now that I overlooked some of the red flags just because I was, been such a big fan of what he's done to date. But there were some underlying issues under the hood that I kind of just conveniently gloss over.
I didn't even gloss. I'm not sure if what I did was worse. I didn't gloss over. I maybe rationalized that he would get better and it wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, I thought the K's would tick up. honestly.
And I mean, I could say the same about Aaron Nola as far as my team's being destroyed. I have more confidence that he'll come back, but that's waning. I mean, kind of a little bit off topic here, but Nola's fastball is down a tick, and I don't know this. I think there's a study out, so it's kind of like half intuition and half kind of remembering what I've seen. But I think if you like lose 98 to 99 or 99 to 98, it doesn't hurt you that much. If you go like from 87 to 86, it doesn't hurt you that much. But when you're like 93, 92 and you lose a mile an hour, I think it disproportionately hurts your ability of success. And that's where Nola is on his four-seamer. His four-seamer is getting crushed. And that has a residual effect on his other pitches. So I don't know, can you just gain a mile? Has our colleague Eric Halterman been right in that last year's pillar to post on the longest season ever for the Phillies because of the wild card? It's just catching up to Nola with all the innings, and we're just not going to see the same Nola this year? I don't know, but I'm getting nervous about expecting a Nola bounce back.
I've been a little bummed with Wheeler too.
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah, but I don't think he doesn't get – well, I had him ranked top 7 or 8. I didn't so I'm especially in my underdog teams, I have Nola and Wheeler in a lot of them, and I still have a couple teams hanging around the top 2 to get into the tournament, but not as actually I need to find out from someone what an unbiased expectation is for the percentage of your teams in the underdog contest to get into the finals. I mean, people.
I haven't even looked at mine.
I want 3/4 of my team. Half of it. I want someone to answer the question honestly. A good player in this best ball. What if they have 20 teams? How many should they expect? To be in the make the top 2 and make the final. Anyway.
I haven't looked in a while, but last time I looked, my percentage was looking pretty low as far as. How many are going to be making it into the next round?
Yeah, I've been jostling between 5 and 8 out of 23. So I don't know if that's high or low. I don't know. I mean, it is, as the expression goes, it is what it is.
That is true. All right. Well, as I mentioned, we are brought to you by Rival Fantasy. Yep. Before we give our picks for tonight, I want to tell you a little bit about Rival.
Yeah.
A new MLB season means it's time for a new kind of daily fantasy baseball. Rival Fantasy is the fantasy platform reinventing the way daily and weekly games are played, and they've brought new games to the ballpark this year that fantasy players won't find anywhere else. Rival Fantasy's games include Fantasy Bingo, head-to-head player challenges, and Fantasy Book, where users can select over-unders for 2 to 5 players. With games like this, daily fantasy has never been better. Right now, RotoWire listeners can get a $50 protected first play. That means if you win your first play, you keep your winnings. But if you lose your first entry, Rival Fantasy will fully refund you up to $50. Go to play.rivalfantasy.com/signup and use code RotoWire MLB at signup and deposit a minimum of $25 to get your first entry on Rival protected up to $50. Now's the time to step up to the plate and become a Rival today. Welcome to the arena. And Todd, in the past weeks, I've been reluctant to take a hitter just because, when you select 2 to 5 on the fantasy book on Rival, I like to stick to the pitchers because I feel like they're more reliable on a game-to-game basis. But I am going to actually throw a hitter into the wrinkle, or into the mix.
All right. Let that hair down.
Yeah. Don't have any left. But no, given that the Rays are first in stolen bases this year, 62. MLB had some notes about the Rays.
I know where this is going.
Base running. Yep. You should know where this one's going. And they are going up against Noah Syndergaard tonight, who it's been proven he's shown time and time again he cannot control the running game. So I'm going to go Randy Arozarena over 8.97 points is my first pick tonight.
Yeah, I was gonna say he may hit a homer instead, So and you get it right off the bat.
Or he could get like 3 steals and just get all those 9 points on steals.
Yeah, he's a Castilla getting it on, and that counts as much. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I may have to go down that road and take advantage of. I want to see what Franco's over under is because I think he'll run too.
Yeah, let me do a quick search. Wander's only at 8.62 points. So that could be a good one too. Yeah.
But he's got the platoon. Yeah, I may have to do another one. All right.
All right. My second pick here tonight is going to be, and this one I struggled with a little bit, but I'm going to go back to the pitching side here and go George Kirby over 18.89 points. He's not like the massive strikeout guy that you love to target in these kind of games, but he's going against Pittsburgh at home. Over under, there's only 7 runs, and Seattle is favored minus 155. Mitch Keller has been great on the other side, but Kirby's control is just something that I really haven't seen. I mean, you don't want to put too many crazy comps on the guy, but the control is kind of next level with George Kirby.
Yeah. You may hear the name Mitch Keller in the next minute or two again, but the thing about that number for Kirby, it's right at that cusp where he doesn't have to get the win. Once you're in the 20s, you kind of have to get the win.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Seattle's favored, but it's still a team that hasn't performed as it should. And Pittsburgh has kind of righted the ship after their, big losing streak. So, yeah, no, I'm going to watch that game just for the fun of. I think it's a great pitching matchup. I just want to watch that for the fun of it.
I also need to watch because, I don't really think there's anything seriously wrong with Julio Rodriguez, but I kind of wonder what's taken so long for him to get going. He has had multiple hits in 3 of his last 4 games, so maybe it's here. But after last year, I was so sure that he was, he was going to perform at a high level for years and years to come. But baseball is an incredibly difficult game. So
I'm trying to go through their lineup. I wonder if there's a little. I don't. There's not like a seasoned veteran to. I think he may be putting too much on himself.
Yeah, that could very well be.
Suarez, if he was just a little bit better, Suarez could fit that mold, right? I don't think that there's like this reliable veteran that can kind of take the heat off of. Where do reporters go after the game? They go to Rodriguez. There's no one else.
Teoscar's been disappointing.
Yeah, Ty France, Crawford. There's just they're going to his locker. So I wonder if there's a little bit of that going on. But I think you're right. He's too talented not to rebound.
Another guy too who I was just so sure was, sure about his baseline was Austin Riley. Another guy who's just not been what I thought he would be this year.
Maybe last night. Didn't he have a great night last night? Maybe
he did.
Spark.
Yeah, and it is still very early, but I was just so sure that he was going to be awesome. He's still got time to. He's got a 794 OPS. So it's not like
what's his strikeout rate? Because he struck out a bunch, then he fixed it.
Mm-hmm.
Is he striking out again, or is it just?
Good question. Because actually in the stake league, I built my team around Riley and Julio Rodriguez, so things are turning around a little bit. Well, Riley's pretty much in line with his K rate, about 26.5%.
Little bit of bad luck, and he'll get fine. He'll get better.
Yeah, he's walking a good amount, more than ever actually. And
that park plays better in the summer when Atlanta gets nice and toasty.
He's still been, well above average by WRC plus, but just not quite Austin Riley. So, yeah, if you built around guys like that, just continue to be patient. It is a very long season. All right, Todd, who are your picks tonight for Rival Fantasy?
All right, we'll go through it pretty quickly. I am going on the over on 3 pitchers, as you suggest. I think they're more just easier to project because less variance. I usually go under. I usually find 3 pitchers that I go under, but I'm going over on Hunter Brown, Houston, 16.97. Doesn't need to go all that deep and get the strikeouts. So I like Hunter Brown tonight. Call it a homer pick, but I'll take Chris Sale with Arizona in the desert, 20.82, pretty much 21 points. And we kind of mentioned Mitch Keller. I saw 10.57, and I thought that was Brad Keller. I mean,
Yeah, is that all it was? I mean,
10.57 for Mitch Keller.
yeah, I see that.
I should mention the over/under 7, or would you say that something like that?
Yeah, it was seven,
Yeah,
7.5, I think.
Yeah, and Keller's going deep into the game. I mean, Seattle has to lay one on Keller for him not to go over 10.57. So those are my
that
three.
Seems like a mistake. That's a good one.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
And real quick, I took 3 hitters, and to have some fun, I went the over. I usually go the under on hitters just because of the variance. Ronald Acuna, I think it's a Taiwan Walker, over 9.88. Brendan Nemo in Colorado, Connor Seabold, over 7.93. To me, that's a layup. I could make sure that Nemo's in the lineup. And Jorge Soler, I know he's hot. I'm not riding a streak. I am riding the fact that he crushes southpaws and he gets Reed Detmers tonight in Anaheim.
Very nice. Good points all around. And, you said you might have to make another one to add Randy or Franco. I might have to add one to get Hunter Brown in there because, against this Oakland team, minus
and Keller.
Keller too, minus 260 Houston tonight on the road.
Yeah.
In Oakland, over under 8.5 runs, going up against James Caprillion, who's 0-4 with an 8.680 ERA.
Just recently back on the rotation.
Yeah, man. So those are definitely some over-unders to attack, I would say. Those, if they may seem a little too good to be true, but I would attack those.
Well, all those flashing lights are Vegas are because of things that were too good to be true. But true. Hey, I'm not, not a victory lap, but I'm up so far in Rival. So keep it going. Can you keep it going?
All right. Well, let's get into the 2-start pitchers for next week. It is Memorial Day on Monday, so happy Memorial Day to everybody, and hope you enjoy your long weekend here. Of course, we're gonna have, I think, full slate on Monday, right?
Nope.
Usually, no.
No, it's actually been. I actually tweeted about this earlier.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I tweeted about this earlier, and Jeff Erickson responded in kind. I basically said that. Actually, I said I'm prepping for the two-start pitcher pod, and there's only 11 games on Monday, and for all the patting of the back MLB has done, this is a strike against them. I think anyway.
I feel like in my head, holidays there's always a full slate, but not this Memorial Day, huh?
For 1 year that it was, and I understand you've got the CBA and the certain amount of off days that you have to have without days in a row, and the schedule makes it difficult with interleague and facing teams fewer times. But man, you got to figure out a way. I think anyway. I think even if it's having an off day on a Wednesday, you got to get everybody in action. And I know the sanctity of the holiday, et cetera, too. I don't want to demean that at all. But yeah, to me, it's just kind of weird. Then of course I followed up the tweet with I know the oddest part of the most the most unbelievable part about my tweet is I actually prepare for the podcast.
Well, that makes one of us. No, I do try, but I don't run the numbers like you do on these 2-star.
Well,
pitchers.
I ran them last week. I'm trying to get running them this week. If you read a long ad or something, play Stairway to Heaven, and I can finish it out. I'm just kidding.
These are very much an inexact science. So we're for me it's a feel thing. You are very much more numbers centric. So I respect that you run your projections usually, and of course those are reflected in your weekly pitcher rankings. So check those out this weekend, and you get an idea where Todd has these guys ranked. I'm usually not too far off, but we will differ from time to time. 0 to 5 scale. Ryan Nelson for Arizona. Initially, I just had him, 0, move on. But then, quality start his last time out in Philly, and or his last 2 starts. Now, one of those was against Oakland, but just one earned run a lot of his last 2 starts. 10-4 K to walk. So maybe I'll give him a complimentary 1 as a pat on the back for what he's done to date. It's home against Colorado, then home against Atlanta for Ryan Nelson.
Yeah, all right. I all right. Yes, I'm in a good mood. It's a nice day. I will give you the 1. Don't love at Atlanta, but it's at home.
Mm-hmm.
It is
And
at home.
then Gallon's a 5, right? I mean, he's
Gallon
had a
is a
few
5.
speed bumps, but he's awesome.
Yep, absolutely.
K's are down a little bit his last few outings, but I'm not really worried about Zach Gallon. Now, Bryce Elder, I'm tempted to go 5 here on Bryce Elder because he's just continues to pass every test he has with flying colors.
Yep.
At Oakland, at Arizona, 2.01 ERA. I think I am going to go 5.
I mean, that Arizona is a little bit sneaky, I think. So
It's not a layup, but it is a pretty pitcher-friendly park.
And they got
right?
Jake McCarthy back. Yeah, no, it is. Absolutely is. And, they're better against, the lefties there, Corbin Carroll, etc. Ah, man. I'm going to go 4. You know what? He may show up top 20 on my rankings, but I still like to say 5. I still want 5 to be special. And I don't know if he's special yet. If you have him, he is. If he's on your team, he is. And and now that I'm a septuagenarian, I like to respect my elder.
Yes, sir.
But anyway.
Yeah, I liked Elder coming in. I wrote his outlook for the site, and I was kind of surprised that he was not in that Schuster Dodd mix coming out of spring training, but he's really, since getting that opportunity this year, he's run with it. So good for Bryce Elder. Tyler Wells of Baltimore versus Cleveland at San Francisco. I think I have him in a league, picked him up for a prior 2-step earlier this season, and been pretty happy with the results so far for Tyler Wells. So versus Cleveland's just a dumpster fire, by the way, offensively.
Right.
Holy
You're not going to get a
cow.
ton of strikeouts, but you're also not going to give up a lot of traffic and or runs.
Yeah, I've been shocked by how bad, like Quan and so many of those bats have been. And it's just a pretty nightmarish offense right now for Cleveland. So Tyler Wells home against Cleveland and at San Francisco. I tempted to go 4, but I'm going to go 3.
He's given up 5 homers in his last 2 games. Wells has. He's also fanned 15-3 walks. So the homers normalized. I mean, if it keeps the price down, or to pick him up, or even in DFS, all right. I still like Tyler Wells. I'm going to go at 3 with you as well. But we do need to be fair about it. He has given up 13 homers in 57 innings.
That's good to point out, especially the trend with those homers.
Yeah, although once he faces Cleveland, it'll be like 13 in 63 innings, right?
Yeah, they're not going yard, that's for sure. Well, your Red Sox finally moved Corey Kluber to the bullpen.
I did this to Eric on the XSM show. They're in a 3-game losing streak. They're no longer my Red Sox.
Oh yeah,
check with me after the weekend.
You're moving on after 3 losses.
I'm a Celtics fan now. No, just kidding. No, I'm just being silly. What about my Red Sox, Clay?
No, I know that you were there through the thin days as well, and
I've never been.
Me neither, really. But I know your Red Sox did move Corey Kluber to the bullpen, although they have a doubleheader next week, so maybe he gets another look there.
Is that why we're bringing him out of the pen? Okay.
He's been brutal so far. But Brian Bayo's the guy who lines up for 2. He's been a lot better since that first foray through the big leagues this year, and versus Cincinnati, versus Tampa Bay. I feel like this, the Tampa Bay one could be bad, but home against Cincinnati, I just don't see Bayo, laying a stinker there at home against the Reds. So I'm going to go, I don't know if I like him quite as much as Wells. I think I'm going to go 3, but it's a little bit of a notch below Wells.
I'm going to go 3 as well. I'm kind of on a par. And I don't know about the off days in the CBA, but here's an example. 3-game series with Cincinnati and the Red Sox. Why can't they play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and have Thursday off? It must have to do with the off days of the teams, and because you can fly out early on Sunday or earlier on Sunday and get into town. But I think that's just a little bit. I think that's bizarre. Anyway, I'm with you, Bayo. The slider is on the way. The changeup is still, his number 2 pitch. We're seeing the improvements we wanted to see.
Absolutely. Now Marcus Stroman's got a sub-3 ERA. he's got to face Tampa Bay and then a disappointing Padres team on the road. I do think the Padres kind of a sleeping giant, but haven't looked like it this year. Stroman. Wow, I think this could be a regression week for Stroman. So I'm going to go 3 because I do feel like there's bad things to come here.
Yeah, the thing with Stroman, I mean, even his expected ERAs is still pretty good at like 3.5, 3.6 in that range.
Mm-hmm.
But when you pitch to contact or we don't strike batters out, you're just subject to more variance. And I think that's kind of what, if it's regression, however you want to put it, he's just always a risk. He's also capable of throwing 2 6-inning, gems. So I'm going to go 3 as well.
He's kind of a confounding player because, the K's have never been there, but he just somehow always gets it done. And then there's some stinker that kind of sticks in your mind for a while. But
he has had a couple of those stinker years, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Well, it was a while ago at this point. It was 2019, the year of the home run. He didn't even give it that many home runs. And the year before that as well. So the past 3 seasons, he's been solid. So, he just remember, that's right. He took 2020 off.
That's right. He opted out. Yeah.
Yeah, he opted out. But he's been, solid since. But still, I don't know. It's kind of like Hendricks. He's like the modern. He's like where Hendricks was 5 years ago. Yeah,
basically. I mentioned Ben Lively among the Stake League pickups. I didn't have a bid in on him, but he has pitched pretty well. I'm just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop here. Ben Lively, the Reds traded. Do you know who the Reds traded to get Ben Lively? By the way, I don't know why I remember this, but
so did he come from Philly?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm trying to think of a former Red that's I don't know.
Marlon Byrd, I think.
Oh, okay.
I was Marlon Byrd. I don't know why I remember that, but I have a vivid memory in my head of that trade and seeing it on my phone. And I was in a car and I was like, oh, Ben Lively's kind of interesting.
That was longer ago than I thought. Anyway.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. For Cleveland, Logan Allen.
Did we actually grade Lively?
Oh no, I guess we didn't. These matchups at Boston versus Milwaukee, I'm only going to go with 1.
Yeah.
It's kind of I don't feel good about that even.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's mainly escape, hope to keep Boston cold because they are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Milwaukee's just not doing anything. They couldn't hit the San Francisco bullpen last night.
Yeah, only Owen Miller can hit on that team for some reason. It's kind of weird. So all right, we're both on 1 on Ben Lively. Then Logan Allen for Cleveland at Baltimore, at Minnesota. Who's coming back for them? But Kenzie, I guess, is coming back. We have him penciled in to start Wednesday.
Yep. So Savali as well, or did Savali already come back?
Savali's on his way back. He struck out 5 in a rehab outing on Tuesday.
Yeah, so they both could be back. So this is where, is it Bybee? Allen. I think they all get one more shot, and we'll see what happens next week. Yeah.
So tentative, given the returns to that rotation in Cleveland, but at Baltimore, at Minnesota, I think I'll go Logan Allen. I think I like him a little less than like Wells and Bayo, so I'm going to go 2.
No, I agree because I think those are sneaky tough foes.
Yeah, true. And now here's this Baltimore's amazing. Here's the one that I think could be kind of a sneaky trap. Kyle Freeland, he's on the road for 2, and it's at Arizona at KC. And I just feel like it's one of those things where you think, Freeland's leaving Colorado for a couple. Maybe I'll scoop him up, but I feel like it could go bad because he's always had some road struggles and just not a dominant arm. So, with 2, I got to give him some consideration, but I think I'm only going to go with a 2 on Freeland.
I thought you were going to go 1 because you're only giving him some because I'm going to go 2. I'm with you that they feel trappy.
Yeah.
But I like Arizona less against lefties. And at least he's got the advantage over Pasquantino. So I do like a 2 for Freeland here. trying to check his splits.
Yeah.
This year he's better at home. And I know,
isn't that kind of a trend with him? He was the guy I think who grew up in that area, right, or something.
Right, but that's kind of over. Last year he was horrible at home and workable on the road, and the last 2 years he's been better on away. But even away, the whip is high, and he's not dominant like you say with the strikeouts. But I'm gonna go with 2 because it is matchup driven.
Mm. Real quick, let me just pause because Kevin in the chat had an interesting question. Head-to-head points league, 10-team league. Each team has to start 10 pitchers for the week. Only one has to be a reliever. But what ratio of SP to RP would you suggest if you're starting 10? I would just tentatively say 7-3, even though you only have to start one reliever just because you want that ratio help and you want to compete in the saves category. A quick aside.
Was it category or
it was points. That's right. It was points.
I mean, there is no that amount. It's the matchups. It's matchup driven. Mm-hmm. Either use our.
Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah,
that part.
I mean, just either use our custom points calculator or just do it yourself. I look at the matchups, be reasonable what you think each pitcher will do, and throw into Excel or use your TI-40. I don't know, whatever, and figure out how many points they're going to score.
Yeah, if it's points, that all gets pretty much thrown out the window. And if you're in a points league like Tout Wars head-to-head points, you can get some negative points dropped in with some bad starting performances. But with the way innings are boosted up, I would just, depending on your scoring system, maybe just load up as many innings as I can.
Well, we're a quick break to Angelo. No, there's a doubleheader next Saturday. There's no doubleheaders Monday, at least not yet.
All right. Well, let's get back. Actually, this gives us a nice little break point. So we'll pause briefly to throw to a quick word from our Blue Wire sponsors. All right. We are back on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball podcast. Clay Link here with FSWA Hall of Famer Lord Zola. And Todd, a couple weeks ago on the pod, I was asking you, what the heck is up with Michael Kopech? He's just, just nothing at this point. And then suddenly he found it again. Over his last 2 starts, 15 scoreless innings, 19-1 K to walk. So, baseball's a funny game. A guy could be struggling, and then they just find it again somehow. And it seems like Kopech's in that bucket right now.
You don't have that audio where I said, hang in there, he's going to get really good? Oh, maybe I didn't say that.
You probably did say that. I just didn't hear it.
No, I didn't. I didn't say that with Kopech.
Okay. I didn't either. I was kind of like, I don't know what the heck's going on. But now I have to kind of recalibrate and see, maybe dig in and see what's changed.
I called air quote, his most recent outing on the ESPN piece I did. Although I kind of hedged it. I said, it's a starting pitching, it's a streaming type piece. And I said, it's early in the week to be desperate, but there's a pathway for Kopech to score a bunch of points. Mm-hmm. I wish I didn't hedge it. I wish I said start Kopech. I mean, he came through and scored a bunch of points.
Yeah, he was awesome. He's been awesome the last few outings. So versus the Angels versus Detroit, I don't think I want to go 4 yet, but I think he's a 3.
Yep, I think he's earned a 3. I'm still at home against the Angels is a bit scary.
Yeah, that's true. Trout's kind of turned it around again, so that's as you'd expect.
Mickey Moniak.
Yeah, what a story Mickey Moniak's been.
I mean, good those of us that have Tyler Ward aren't very happy, but it is a good story.
Yeah, a guy who was number 1 overall pick, just kind of labeled a bust for so long and traded, and now he's finally settling in, it would seem. Lucas Giolito, same 2-step for him versus the Angels versus the Tigers.
See, a week ago, that's a 4, but he had a rough start this week. So are we going to be overly influenced by that one start?
I am a prisoner of the moment. And so I'm kind of thinking I think I'm going to give them both 3s, but I kind of give Kopech the edge here. And so that is a pretty big reversal, of course, from just a few weeks ago.
All right. I'm going to go 4 for Giolito. I still think, I don't want to be overly influenced by one start on a day that was just backwards for everybody.
Yeah, that's probably the more level-headed take there. I'm going to go 3 on both, but I got you down as a 4 on Giolito, and you said 3 on Kopech, right?
Yeah.
Matthew Boyd versus Texas at the White Sox. So let's look at how deep Boyd has been going. He's only he was regularly going 5+, but then his last few 1 1/3, 5 2/3, 4 2/3.
Yeah, it's been a struggle lately, and the pitch counts are pretty high those last 2. So it's just he's been and even though he's only walked 3, it's just pitching. I don't know if he's fouling it off, what's happening, but he hasn't been the most efficient with the pitches. So, and those, Washington and KC isn't that when you're supposed to, do well because you're going to be facing other teams that aren't so easy to maneuver through?
Good point. I did you give a number on Boyd? I think I'm going to go 1.
I'm going to go 2. I'm still going to go 2. Texas is obviously tough.
Yeah,
the White Sox,
they have the best run differential in baseball, don't they?
Yeah, well, when Tampa Bay
Dane Dunning is
Luke Raley and when they brought in the position players.
Oh yeah,
Tampa lost their
20-1.
Yeah,
20-1 laugher.
Yeah, you can't let Vlad see the same pitcher twice. I mean, Raley got him the first time.
Yeah, Luke Raley struck him out on that curveball, that ephus curveball.
Yeah, you can't let Vlad see that same pitcher twice. Anyway.
Yeah. I was glad Vlad got some revenge because he was smiling after the K, but I could kind of tell he was a little irked.
Oh, so for sure. Yeah, and
he got his revenge.
That high inside pitch, he hit the typical laser, out of the park. Anyway.
For Houston, J.P. France and Brandon Bielak are the 2-star pitchers for them versus Minnesota versus the Angels. France has been, he's kind of given something back his last few outings. Well, he was all right against Milwaukee, 8 Ks. He just had that one against the Cubs at home that was not so good. So he's been great on the road, and then his one outing at home is the one stinker so far for JP France. So I'm not going to put too much stock into that, but I'm still not completely sold on the skills. I think with JP France, I'm going to go with a 2.
I'm going to go a 1. I mean, maybe he's one of those guys that needed to be in the majors, but I was not impressed when he was called up. So I'm going to stay with that.
And Brandon Bielak gave up 3 homers in his most recent outing in Milwaukee, matching his total from his first 4 outings, by the way. So the long ball bit Bielak last time out. I think I'm going to put him on the same level as France as a 2.
Going to go 2 as well.
Okay. All right. Continuing to make our way through here. This is weird. I might have to check if this is some sort of error. Did Kansas City have Wednesday and
I wouldn't be. I think
off?
that may be a way to get a Memorial Day game. I think that's.
Yeah.
I bet you. I'll bet you that's so they can play Memorial Day.
Because they just have that 2-game set in St. Louis, which would probably be a Tuesday, Thursday set in a typical week.
Yeah.
Or a Tuesday, Wednesday set in a typical week. So, okay. So no 2-star pitchers for KC, given that they have 2 off days in the middle of the week. Jaime Barria made his first start of the season. Yeah, he was like a long man, right? So he was just in the bullpen. Then he makes his first start, goes 5 scoreless with 6 Ks and no walks. So suddenly Jaime Barria is back on the fantasy radar.
And wasn't that against my Red Sox?
Let me double check.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
They made Barria look like Cy Young. He was primary pitcher a couple times. I mean, he's all right. He's always been all right. Always been a streaming type that White Sox you kind of like, but you don't like the park. Houston, even though their lineup is not as dominant as it is likely to be, it can break out at any time. I can't go higher than a 1.
Yeah, I'm going to the 1 too, especially because as good as Berea was in that first start of the year, he couldn't have been more efficient. He got through those 5 on only 64 pitches.
Yeah.
So I would expect his pitch count to still be limited. He'd have to have another really efficient outing to qualify for the win. And with these road matchups, yeah, I'm only going a 1 on Jaime Berea. Now, earlier this week, Todd, I asked you to look into our Bobby Miller projection, and thank you for doing that. Impressive outing for him, and now he's home against Washington, home against the Yankees. That'll be an interesting series next weekend. Yankees visiting the Dodgers. Yeah, man, Bobby Miller sure looked a lot better than Gavin Stone so far. I think I'm going to go with a 3 on Miller because I definitely would want to pick him up if I could.
We are agreeing far too much this week. I'm going 3 as well.
Yeah, I'm only seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 disagreements so far. So,
well, we're not quite. We're going to hit the halfway point with Miami.
So Sandy Alcantara versus San Diego versus Oakland. I don't think I'm really willing to bump him down. I know that you were kind of like, all right, I had him as a 4 coming in. He's kind of pitched at that level. I had him as a 5 coming in. He hasn't been anywhere close. K's are down a little bit. I guess I'm tempted to still go 5, but I guess realistically I have to say 4.
I'm going to go 4, and I'm not having any issue with it.
Yeah, see, I'm still having an issue fighting that.
Well, I'm still. I don't know if Nola has to, but that's the one I'm fighting. And part of the tout table this week is who do you want the rest of the year? Alcantara, Aaron Nola, or Joe Ryan?
Oof.
And first blush, I want to make fun of everybody taking Joe Ryan, but then you think about it, that might be the right answer.
Yeah, that's not so crazy, actually. So, yeah, Joe Ryan's been unbelievable. One of the best stories and biggest profit earners for where he was going during draft season. We'll talk about him here momentarily, but what about Adrian Hauser? 2.25 ERA so far. He's got to go to Toronto and then at Cincy, so you don't love the venues, but Toronto really hasn't looked like themselves lately. So, I do think they're kind of a sleeping giant, the Blue Jays, but at Toronto is no longer the kind of hands off immediately type of matchup for me. So I might go 2 on Hauser. He'll be on a list or 2 this weekend.
Yeah, if my pitching, if it's pretty good, I'm not interested. But if I need to make up some ground and I need some lightning in a bottle, Hauser is an established mid-rotation, useful for fantasy guy. I got to run with it because I don't know how many options you're going to get. So I'm with you on a 2.
Yeah, and then the 2 for Minnesota, Sonny Gray and Joe Ryan. They're going to be at Houston, then versus Cleveland. Houston's tough, but then as we talked about with Cleveland, they're so bad that it kind of balances it out with these 2. And I think I'm going to say both are 5s.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm tempted with Gray to go 4, but I think he's now, he's one of those pitches really well between injuries, and he's perfectly, well, I don't know if he's perfectly healthy, but yeah.
He's healthy now.
That's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And Houston's offense, even with Altuve back, it's not the daunting, it's bottom 3rd. It's right around number 2. It's Oakland's offense is on a par with Houston.
Oh,
I don't think they're going to stay that way, right? But right now, Houston's offense is on a par with Oakland.
Well, aside from Alek Manoah, probably my other biggest bust is Jose Abreu. Does he still not have a homer this year?
Man,
let me double check.
I
think last I saw, he was still homerless.
Twitter would have broken. Yeah, Twitter would have broken.
Still 0. And even 200 plate appearances to date.
You'd think he would have just popped one up in Minute Maid and had it made the Crawford boxes. That's bizarre. That is bizarre.
I feel for the guy too because ISO 2 years ago was 219, then to 141 last year, then to 038. I feel for a guy who just you got to feel like there's something. Maybe it's age catching up to him, but I got to think it's part mental at this point too because this is just such a dramatic turn for him.
Last year he was hitting the ball hard, but it was just on the ground. I don't think his hard hit rate. I think that's down now, and maybe it is mental because now you start putting loft in your swing, and the bat's not going through the hitting zone as long as it should be, and things just mushroom.
Cody Senga versus the Phillies versus Toronto. Had those control issues. Man, you look at the walk numbers in the game log. I mean, 5 walks the last time out, 3, 1, 4, 4, 4, 4. He just cannot limit.
Reminds me of the Wild thing. Don't you want to send him to an eye doctor?
Yeah.
See if it's vision.
He needs to get some. I mean, probably not LASIK, but just some sort of contacts.
I don't know. I mean, who knows? I was just making that. It just reminds me of the Wild thing. That's all. Or Nuke Lelouch. Maybe he needs to wear, a garter belt or something.
Whatever it is, he just, I know he's got that good stuff, but maybe a little reluctant to fill up the zone still. He's got 6 homers allowed, 48 innings, just 31 walks. That's really, I hate a guy that nibbles like that, but I still think given the success he's had despite those walks to date in these 2 home matchups, I think I'd still give him a 2.
Yeah, I'm more comfortable in a points league because, all right, what did he do? He breaks even if he walks a bunch of guys. Mm-hmm. For a Tisserie league, he crushes your whip because he does strike out a lot of batters too. I'm going to go with a 2, but it's kind of like in a points league. Maybe he's a 3 in a points league.
Yeah, that's fair. Domingo Germán caught with some sticky stuff, trying to get away with that. He was suspended, but back Monday at Seattle at the Dodgers. Not a guy I trust. I'm going to give him a 2 as well.
Yeah, I kind of wonder what to trust. I guess a 2 means he was better than that. And all right, I'll go with the 2 because that means he was better than that, which he was, and we're downgrading him. All right. Yeah, that's fair.
At this time last year, Paul Blackburn was kind of a big surprise story in the fantasy world, but then he fell apart and got hurt. But he is projected back, and his last rehab outing for Las Vegas really went well. 5 innings, struck out 5, just 1 earned run. Not a dominant guy in terms of swing and miss, and when I say dominant in terms of baseball, it's always in terms of swing and miss. The injury that sidelined Blackburn to this point, just a right middle fingernail avulsion. So that's not something that really scares me moving forward, but I'll still need to see more from Blackburn. I'll give him a 1 just because maybe you actually pick him up and wait and see.
I'm going to go 0. I don't know. To me, even if he goes 5 innings with the A's, that's not enough with that bullpen. And he doesn't get the strikeouts, or generally hasn't gotten the strikeouts. So I'm going to go 0, and I'm probably not going to pick him up. He's just not the kind of pitch contextually. I like the park, but contextually not the kind of pitcher I like to start.
Picked him up a few places last year, and it was fun for a little while, and then it wasn't fun. But, yeah, I think you're probably right as a 0. I'll give him a 1 just as maybe you're in a deep league and you see what happens. But Ranger Suarez, I think I'm going to have to go to 0. I mean, this guy's got an ERA pushing 10.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's a tough because, I mean, you should be starting him this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go 1, actually. I can't give Blackburn a 1 and Suarez a 0, so I'm going to go 1 on Suarez.
Oh, gosh. I'm going to go 1 as well. But I mean, I just feel as though he deserves to be higher. I know, not by the numbers, but all right. You know what? I'm going to go 1.
What about Rich Hill at San Francisco versus St. Louis? What do you think about scooping him up where he's available? That curveball still holding up with age.
To me, he's a 3. I don't care who the opponents are. I mean, although if it's in Colorado, maybe I care.
Yeah.
I mean, he just flips it's like a knuckleballer.
Yeah.
He just flips the ball up there from different angles and says hit it. So I mean, these matchups aren't terrible. So I mean, he's a 3, but or is he a 2? No, I'm gonna go 2.
Okay, I got a 3, but 2 sounds.
I'm gonna go 2.
Sounds reasonable.
Pittsburgh isn't winning like they have been. I don't know how luckily the win is against these teams, so we're gonna go 2.
All right, moving on. Ryan Weathers, he was a pickup in the stake league. It's at Miami then versus the Cubs. Who's his dad? I forget.
David, isn't it?
David, yeah, of course. So yeah, he came up a few years ago, had some issues, some struggles, but I guess it was just 2 years ago he came up. And then he pitched 94 2/3 innings at the big league level in 2021, then just 3 2/3 last year. Pitching okay this year. 6 innings his last time out. I don't really trust the performance yet, so I'm going to go a 1 with these matchups.
I am as well. I'm a little surprised. I mean, surprised that he is pitching as deep. I thought he'd be more of an opener and or primary pitcher than an old-fashioned starter. So I'm trying to see what his minor league. All right, so in between in the minor leagues went 4 innings and 4 innings. So they stretched it out so he could go 5. Even so, though, I'm gonna stick with the 1.
Bryce Miller of Seattle has been one of the stories of the season so far, and one of the most useful FAAB pickups today. That whip is just absolutely insane. Versus the Yankees at Texas. Not willing to go 5 yet, but I think I'm going to go 4 on Bryce Miller.
I'm going to go 4, and I'll call this the litmus test week. This is the week to see, if he's going to get some comeuppance, it could be this week, or he's really good and he's just going to cruise.
That Yankees lineup doesn't strike a ton of fear in my heart right now. So since they're down several guys, and I think this will be an interesting test week for Miller, but start him. If you've been rolling with him, don't see any reason to change that now. Anthony DeSclafani versus Pitt versus Baltimore. A couple nice home. Well, not you don't like facing Baltimore, but at least you get some at home. I'm going to go with a 3, I think, on Disco.
Yeah, I am as well. It's kind of yes. All right, yes, I'm going to go 3 before I talk myself into something lower.
Yeah, we're kind of running a little long, so we'll power through these last few. No 2-star pitchers for St. Louis. They have that same thing with Kansas City. They're playing them next week, and they play Monday, Tuesday, then off Wednesday, Thursday. Shane McClanahan's a 5. Is Zach Eflin also a 5 for you?
At Chicago, at Boston. I'm gonna go 4. I don't love it, but I'm gonna go 4. I'm starting him everywhere, but I'm gonna go 4.
Yeah, me too. Another one of the top stories of the season, Nate Eovaldi, Nasty Nate. What a story he's been. I mean, I am kind of just waiting for that next injury, but a complete game his last time out. So he's got 2 complete games his last 5 starts. He's gone 9, 8 2/3, 7, and 9. Really not what I expected out of a guy who's had so many injury issues, but taking the ball and handling a heavy workload every time out. At Detroit versus Seattle, I'm not going to go 5, but I'm tempted to, so that's a 4.
I'll go 6. So we averaged to 5. I mean, those great matchups. No, I'm gonna go 5. Real quick, I know you're still running late. This is part of the Tilla table as well. Mitch Keller, Eduardo Rodriguez, or Eovaldi, rest of season. Mitch Keller, Eduardo Rodriguez, Nathan Eovaldi.
I think I'm gonna go Eovaldi.
You know what? I may be on Keller, just because of the injury possibility with Eovaldi.
Well, I think
but it's tough.
It is heightened with Eovaldi, but that's there with every pitcher. So
it's tough. To me, I don't want to call it a throwaway tout table, but the ones with players I don't like as much as some of the others. But we're getting some run on this one. This one's going to be fun. Anyway,
Awesome. Yusei Kikuchi has come back to earth, but he's still 5-2 versus Milwaukee at the Mets. Let me see. So he ran into some issues against Tampa Bay, as you'd probably expect. He's also faced, how about this for the past 3 starts? Atlanta, Baltimore, and then at Tampa Bay. So given those opponents, he's struggled, but you got to give him a little bit of a pass there. Ugh. Versus Milwaukee at the Mets. I think I'm going to go 2.
You picked the perfect time to vamp a little bit because, man, the sirens were loud behind me, but I hit the mute button in time. It got loud. I think the windows may be open a crack. I'm going to go 2 as well. Kikuchi is maddening. He's just a guy that when I start him, he stinks, and when I don't start him, he shoves.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And Trevor Williams. So we've talked about the Stromans and the Kyle Hendricks of the world, and Trevor Williams fits into that bucket. So at the Dodgers versus Philly, I'm going to go 0 on Trevor Williams.
I will go 0 as well.
All right. Well, thank you for all the insight. Let me get this recap up here. So we're going to recap our grades for Matt Leahy, by the way, says Eovaldi, Keller, Erod in that order. So that is a really good, pick one of the 3. All right, 2-start pitcher grades recap for Memorial Day week. Again, happy Memorial Day to everybody. And we will recap these grades and get you on your way. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Ryan Nelson, it's a 1. Zach Gallen, 5. Bryce Elder, I say 5. Todd, 4. Tyler Wells, 3. Brian Bayo, 3. Marcus Stroman, 3. Ben Lively, 1. Logan Allen, 2. Kyle Freeland, 2. Michael Kopech, 3. Lucas Giolito, I say 3. Todd, 4. Matthew Boyd, I say 1. Todd, 2. JP France, I say 2. Todd, 1. Brandon Belak, 2. Jaime Barria, 1. Bobby Miller, 3. Sandy Alcantara, 4. Adrian Hauser, 2. Sonny Gray, 5. Joe Ryan, 5. Cody Sanga, 2. Domingo Herman, 2. Paul Blackburn, I say 1. Todd, 0. Ranger Suarez, 1. Rich Hill, I say 3. Todd, 2. Ryan Weathers, 1. Bryce Miller, 4. Anthony DeSclafani, 3. Shane McClanahan, 5. Zach Eflin, 4. Nate Eovaldi, I say 4. Todd, 5. Yusei Kikuchi, 2. And finally, Trevor Williams, 0. Thanks to everybody for being with us. Anything else on your mind today, Todd, as we wrap things up?
Well, there's a note in the chat that Hunter Green has a no-hitter through 4.
Yeah.
Let's just also note that he's thrown 86 pitches through 4 innings. So let's get you out of here so you can watch that game.
He's got the cake. We just need a lot of pitches to.
8 strikeouts, 2 walks. Anyway, no, happy Memorial Day weekend. Have a couple thoughts for the reason for the weekend, but have a good time as well.
Yeah, and I saw a chat that always throws this person off when he sees a clean-shaven Clay. I was trying to just trim, and then I really messed up the. I had it really uneven, so I just thought, hey, it's time to.
It'll come back.
Time to start.
It's
you're
not doing
fresh.
Right. You're not. It's not a playoff period for hockey, so you're fine.
Yeah, and I'm not stashing Ellie De La Cruz anywhere. I'm tempted, but I still think they kind of do the Corbin Carroll thing where they keep his rookie status intact for next year.
I think let's let McLean see what McLean can do, and I think he's starting to play a lot better
so far. Yeah,
I've
been impressed, and I do think we see Ellie, but I would expect him. What's the threshold? 130 at bats to make he can't clear that or something to
the
maintain
rookie status. Yeah.
Whatever it is, I think they will maintain that for next year so that he could potentially win Rookie of the Year next year and then get the Reds a draft pick. So I would not expect him to exhaust his rookie eligibility this year. Thank you guys so much for coming through and hanging out. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend, and we'll catch you soon on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast, sponsored by Rival Fantasy.